The rain was coming down in cold sheets the night Daniel pulled into a lonely gas station just outside town. He was a single dad, his little boy asleep in the back seat, and his own heart heavy from working 2 jobs just to keep food on the table. As he stepped out to fill the tank, his eyes caught sight of a girl sitting on the curb, her hands pressed to her face, shoulders trembling as she cried. Her clothes were soaked, her shoes muddy, and when she lifted her head, Daniel noticed something that stopped him in his tracks. She was pregnant. "Hey, are you all right?" he asked gently, crouching down despite the rain. She shook her head quickly, embarrassed, and tried to stand, but he could see she was exhausted. I just need a moment," she whispered, wiping her tears. Her voice was steady, but her eyes carried a storm of pain. Daniel didn't press her, but he offered his jacket, placing it softly over her shoulders. "No one should be out here alone like this," he said. She looked at him for the first time then, really looked, and something in his kind eyes seemed to ease the weight pressing on her chest. What Daniel didn't know, as he helped her up, was that this fragile, rain-soaked stranger wasn't just another lost soul. She was a CEO, a millionaire in hiding, running from a past she couldn't yet bring herself to reveal. Daniel guided the girl toward his car, careful not to wake his son sleeping in the back seat. She hesitated, clutching his jacket tighter around her. "You don't have to," she whispered, her voice fragile. "I'm not leaving you out here in the rain," Daniel replied firmly, opening the passenger door. "At least warm up for a bit." She slid into the seat, her hands trembling. The soft sound of a child's breathing reached her ears, and she turned to see a little boy with messy hair and chubby cheeks curled up beneath a blanket. Her lips quivered into the faintest smile. "He's beautiful," she murmured. Daniel's expression softened. "He's my whole world." Then, after a pause, "Name's Daniel. And you are?" The girl looked down, chewing her lip as though even her name carried danger. Finally she said, "Claire." Daniel didn't press further, but he noticed how her eyes darted nervously at every passing car, like she was afraid someone might find her. As he started the engine, Daniel asked gently, "Now, Claire, do you have anywhere safe to go tonight?" Her throat tightened. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to tell him about the skyscrapers with her name etched on the glass, the boardrooms where men twice her age looked to her for decisions, the empire she had built from nothing. But here, soaked and broken, none of that mattered. She swallowed hard. "No," she whispered. Daniel glanced at her, then at his son sleeping peacefully. He sighed, already knowing his answer. "Then you're coming with us. At least until you figure things out." Claire's eyes burned with fresh tears, not from fear this time, but from something she hadn't felt in a long time. Safety. Daniel's modest apartment wasn't much, 2 small bedrooms, a worn couch, and walls that carried the laughter and drawings of a child, but to Claire, stepping inside felt like entering another world. Warmth. Simplicity. The faint smell of spaghetti sauce simmering on the stove. Daniel handed her a towel and one of his sister's spare sweaters. "It's not fancy, but it'll keep you dry." Claire's fingers brushed the soft fabric, and her chest tightened. For years she had lived in penthouses with silk sheets and chandeliers, but not once had kindness felt this genuine. While she changed, Daniel tucked his son, Ethan, into bed. When she returned, her eyes wandered over the apartment. The bookshelf caught her attention, lined with children's books, but in between them sat a single business magazine. Her breath caught. On the cover was her own face, smiling in a tailored suit. She froze, staring at the glossy page before Daniel returned. "You okay?" he asked, noticing her pale face. She quickly turned the magazine around, hiding the cover. "Why yes, just tired." Daniel frowned. Something about her didn't add up. Her voice carried the calm assurance of someone used to control, her posture straight even in borrowed clothes. And when he set a plate of pasta before her, she instinctively reached for the fork with practiced elegance, like someone raised at fine dining tables, not gas station curbs. But he didn't ask. He simply said, "Eat. You need your strength." Claire looked at him, her heart pounding. No one had looked past her money in years. No one had cared about her as a person. And for the first time, she felt the terrifying pull of wanting to stay. The next morning, sunlight poured through the thin curtains, casting a golden glow across the small kitchen. Daniel was already at the stove, flipping pancakes while Ethan giggled from the table. Claire sat quietly, her hands resting on her belly, feeling the baby stir. "Hungry?" Daniel asked, sliding a plate toward her. His easy smile made the cramped room feel brighter. She nodded, and as she took her first bite, Ethan leaned toward her with wide, curious eyes. "Are you gonna have a baby?" he asked bluntly. Claire blinked, startled. Daniel chuckled. "Ethan," he scolded gently, but Claire only laughed, a soft, melodic sound that filled the room. "Yes," she said, ruffling the boy's hair. "I am." Something shifted then. For the first time, Claire felt she wasn't just surviving, she was belonging. After breakfast, Daniel offered to drive her somewhere safe, but her chest tightened. She couldn't go back. "Not yet," she finally whispered. "Daniel, there are things about me you don't know. I'm not who I look like." He raised an eyebrow, but his tone stayed calm. "Everyone has secrets, Claire. You don't owe me yours." Her throat tightened at his words. No one had ever given her that choice. People always demanded, pulled, or used her. But here was a man who simply cared. Still, guilt gnawed at her. She glanced at the bookshelf again, where her own magazine cover lay hidden behind children's stories. One day, he'd find out. Her heart whispered the truth she couldn't say aloud. And when he does, will he still look at me this way? 2 days passed, and life in Daniel's apartment settled into a rhythm Claire hadn't known she needed. She cooked dinner with him, helped Ethan with his drawings, and even laughed so hard one night her ribs ached. For a moment, she almost forgot the world she had run from. But the world hadn't forgotten her. While Daniel was at work, Claire heard a knock at the door. Her breath caught, too sharp, too sudden. She peeked through the curtain and froze. A sleek black car was parked outside, and a man in a tailored suit stood waiting. Her pulse thundered. She knew him. He was her company's lawyer, the one she had left unanswered calls for. If he saw her here, the questions, the headlines, the exposure would destroy the fragile peace she had found. Ethan's little voice broke through her panic. "Claire? Someone's here." She forced a smile. "It's just a salesman, sweetheart. Go play in your room." The knocking grew louder, insistent. Claire's hand shook on the doorknob, but she didn't open it. After a tense few minutes, the car finally pulled away. She sagged against the wall, trembling with relief. That evening, Daniel returned home. He noticed her pale face and clenched hands. "You okay?" Claire hesitated, torn between truth and silence. Finally, she whispered, "Daniel, if people come asking about me, please don't tell them I'm here." His brows knit together. "Are you in trouble?" Her eyes brimmed with tears. "Not the way you think. I need time." Daniel studied her, torn between questions and the trust growing in his chest. He finally nodded. "Then you'll have it." Claire's heart ached. Because she knew her time, and her secret, was running out. The secret unraveled sooner than Claire hoped. One evening, Daniel came home early from his shift, Ethan asleep in his arms. He set his son down, then noticed a magazine had slipped from the bookshelf onto the floor. When he bent to pick it up, his breath caught. There she was, Claire. The same face smiling confidently in a sharp suit, the headline above it bold. "Youngest female CEO leads billion-dollar company to global success." The truth hit him like a storm. He turned slowly, finding her standing in the doorway frozen. Her hands clutched her belly, her eyes wide with fear. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I didn't mean to lie. I couldn't be her anymore. Not for a little while." Silence stretched, heavy and thick. Claire braced for judgment, for anger, for the wall of distance she knew so well. But Daniel only exhaled slowly, setting the magazine down. "So you're a millionaire," he said softly. "Doesn't change the fact that I found you crying in the rain. Doesn't change the fact that you're scared, and human." Tears spilled down her cheeks as relief washed through her. No one had ever seen past her wealth. No one had cared for Claire, the woman, not the CEO. She stepped closer, trembling. "You don't know what that means to me." Daniel offered a small, steady smile. "Maybe I don't. But I know this, you and that baby deserve more than loneliness. And if you'll let us, Ethan and we'd like to be part of that." For the first time in years, Claire felt something stronger than fear. Hope. And in that tiny apartment, under the weight of secrets and second chances, a new family began to form.